some stuff you need to know. Well, I may not be very old. I've traveled life's highway, got lost along the road. I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. Things you should do and things you shouldn't say. When to stay and fight and when to run away. So I wrote a book to help the youth along. Some of the answers are written in this song. Don't go running in your coffee when it's 40 below. I learned the hard way, this is stuff you need to know. Don't squat on a cactus when you're taking a dump. Don't make your legs target when your dog wants a hump. Don't roll down your window when your dad's spitting school, cause the passenger window is where it always goes. Don't bend over in Walmart when your pants are riding low. Those security cameras are just for show. They show you tape to prove this is stuff you need to know. It doesn't make you Superman because you're in a cape. Falling out that building was more than I could take. But I follow my brother wherever he goes. That's how I lost these fingers and most of my toes. Don't go dancing with a woman with more facial hair than you. The balls in her capri should have been my proof. But I didn't pay attention, and when I took her home, she leaned in for a kiss and whispered soft and low. Thank you for the evening, this is stuff you need to know. I don't know why they make a khaki bathing suit. When you get out of the water, it's hard to hide the truth. When I got out of the pool, they cannot believe their eyes. The things happened, Motel 6 knows I've been circumcised. Now that I've got that covered, I have one more to share. When you go out dancing, put on new underwear. You'll be sure to thank me when you tear out your pants. You'll be showing off your skid marks while doing chicken dance. Well, I'm not saying I'm the smartest man around. I got arrested last time I went downtown. I was arrested for directions, or so my story goes. I guess I shouldn't have tipped her, turned out she was a hoe. This is friendly Emily number 240. I'll bring you shout-outs from my cell block with stuff you need to know. And almost all of that song was true, except it was not a Motel 6, it was a Super 8.
What'd you get for number 3? Oh, B? You got B? All right. Oh, hey, I was just studying up a little bit, and I think I know the calculation. I multiplied by 5, and I got boobies.
Huh. That doesn't even look like boobies with your cell phone number.
I know, that's what I was thinking. Like, it's not the old school, like the block letter S, so it's like it doesn't even work.
Yeah.
So
it was like boobless. That was always a good one.
Yeah.
You know. Good calculations there.
Yep.
It's all about that stuff that you need to know.
Right, and it's good when you know the stuff you need to know. And we all learn the hard way sometimes the stuff we should know.
Well, that's the best way to learn stuff. You know, like if I learned anything from the Rocky movies with Apollo Creed, you know, he's going to learn the hard way. I mean, those are the things that you always remember. You know, the best lessons are the ones that usually involve pain or embarrassment or some humiliation or a combination of those three.
Yep, something that changes your behavior. So, like, you know, don't squat on a cactus when you're taking a dump.
True story.
Let's unpack that one for everybody. If you've already listened to the song, first of all, though, this is the Polyester Man podcast. I'm Bud Catfish Dickerson.
And I'm Biff Bobcat Rogers coming at you. Yeah, it's been a while since we've hit one up, but yeah, this is stuff you need to know. And I think that's the first thing. Don't squat on a cactus when you're taking a dump. You know, I did learn that lesson the hard way, but I'm not sure who got the last laugh.
Right.
You know, you or me. Because that's when you know you have a true brother. So, yeah, growing up where we did, we were out in the government pasture one summer and fixing fence and pounding staples, and you know, Dad just takes you out there and drops you off, and then heads out, and you're out there in the middle of nowhere. And when nature calls, you got to go. And I mean, number one, you know, taking a leak, that's an easy thing to do, but dropping the deuce, as my kids like to call it, you know, it's, yeah, I picked the wrong spot to squat, and, you know, I took a dump, and for whatever reason, I'm not sure how, I fell over backwards, but I fell over backwards and landed right smack dab on a cactus. I don't really know why I was squatting over a cactus. I don't know if that was like an intentional thing or if it was funny. You might have to chime in on that, but fell smack dab onto that cactus and got all those cactus needles right in my butt.
Well, neither one of us were very old, so I don't think you were maybe more than 5 years old. So, you know, you hadn't learned that lesson yet. So,
yeah, and I had to learn that. The hard way. And the good thing was, you know, cactus needles poked up in there, and what could I do? I mean, had my brother back there, and he pulled them out. So yeah, listeners, that's a real story. I mean, stuff you need to know. 99% of that song is factual, and we'll kind of go through, you know, one little lesson after another and talk you through it. But that really happened. So check that one off your bucket list. Squat on a cactus while taking a dump, but just make sure you don't fall over backwards on it.
And make sure you got a partner to take the needles out. That's the big thing.
Yeah, it's important. It's important to have that go-to person who's willing to be there and inspect stuff for you. That wouldn't be the last time my brother inspected stuff back there for me, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. There may have been an incident or two come our college years, but that'll be for another time and another place.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't squat on a cactus when you're taking a dump. Don't make your leg a target when your dog wants a hump. I think everybody's been there where you have your leg there and dogs just come and hump on it. So that kind of goes without saying. I think many of you have probably experienced that.
Sometimes your dog's lonely and you're just like, well, maybe just for a little bit.
Yeah, but you know, that's like playing the game just the tip, then they always want more.
And every dog always wants more.
Yeah, it's never just a little bit. So let's see. Yeah, don't squat on a cactus while you're taking a dump. Don't make your leg a target when your dog wants a hump. What about rolling down your window when your dad's spitting skull? You can tell us about that.
So anybody who has ever driven on a country road in a pickup with the windows down, feels good most of the time. The sun's shining, the wind blowing through your hair. And then your dad, who's driving, takes a big old chew of skull and spits it out the window. And something about the aerodynamics, it shoots that chaw all the way back around, and it hits you on the passenger side inevitably. So that's our dad chewed for quite a while. And, you know, as a kid, well, I think anybody always wants shotgun, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We fought over shotgun a lot.
And then you get hit in the face a couple times with a little bit of skull spittle, and you know, maybe the middle seat isn't quite such a bad place.
And the important thing, you know, is to make sure your mouth isn't open, or you're talking, or it ends up in your mouth. That, you know, that's happened before too. So yeah, don't roll down your window when your dad's spitting skull. You know, because the passenger window is where it always goes.
Yep. So anybody who's ever had that happen, you know exactly what we're talking about. And anybody who hasn't had a family member who's chewed, you're lucky. Because I remember hearing a story. I was too young to know it or to experience it, but Mom said that Dad used to have one of those golden spittoons, you know, like you see on TV in Westerns and stuff. And he'd have it sitting right by his chair in our living room. And one time when I was like 1 or 2 years old, I got into it and spilled it all over. And I mean, I don't know how many months of spit was in that thing, but not something for a 1-year-old to have access to.
No, and like all the times of spitting in bottles and pop cans and, thinking you didn't know that it was spit in there at the time. And, that was disgusting. Just a nasty habit altogether, but lessons learned the hard way.
He was always playing for that. He chewed skull. He didn't smoke, but I remember like when we were growing up, he had like several garbage bags full of skull cans, old skull cans, like in the shop. And I think it was because they always had contests. Tobacco always had some sort of contest where if you turned in like 12,000 skull cans, you could get a hat or something.
Yeah,
So
I believe he had a hat. That was one that you always wore when we were little. The green and white one that said skull.
I know. And so, like, I'm a kid. I'm maybe 9 or 10 years old, and my favorite hat is a green and white skull ball cap.
Oh, yeah, you wore that everywhere.
I did, and then it just disappeared. And I think probably if we were to ask Mom to be truthful with us today, she would say that she probably got rid of it at some point when I wasn't looking.
Yeah, it probably wasn't appropriate for a 10-year-old boy to just be wearing around and idolizing.
Yeah, it's Dad, one thing to wear. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, Dad and, loved chewing skull so much. He wrote a song called Skull Kid. And I mean, growing up, he would sing that song and then we would sing it. So it's like we're singing a song about the fun of chewing. But the good thing was there are a lot of good qualities that we picked up from Dad. There are a lot of bad qualities that we did not pick up on, and chewing skull was definitely one of them. And, I remember all the times he tried to quit. And then, one day, I think it was shortly after Matthew was born, right? Or before that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He just quit cold turkey and never looked back. So, it's always that motivator, what wants, to make you stop. But yeah, so, you want to talk more about the lessons we've learned in that song, like the cod piece?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't feed my family with this cod piece. And does anyone even know what a cod piece is? I remember when we performed that song at Chuckles for Charity, and we sang, the rest of the song got all kinds of laughs, but that don't run in a cod piece when it's 40 below. I don't think really people got that. And was it either, like, why is anyone running in, a cod piece, or why is anybody out in the cold when it's 40 below? Or maybe they don't even know what a cod piece was. That was merely just a funny line. We heard about cod piece, from The Simpsons. Right. So that's like the 1% of the song that isn't true. But I think every man would vouch for the fact that that's just good all around advice.
Common sense.
Yeah, a cod piece is kind of like a industrial strength jock strap for protecting your jewels from getting punched in the boxing ring.
But it doesn't keep them warm when it's 40 below.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a good piece of clothing or proper attire if you're out running when it's 40 below. But who would be out running when it's 40 below?
Right.
But some of the rest,
guy who wears a cod piece.
Yeah. Boxing makes sense, but running in a cod piece would probably be uncomfortable. Kind of like all those days of football, and baseball, when you wear a cup and you try to run in that's extremely unpleasant. But I suppose the alternative of getting hit square in the nuts, without one of those on would be far more unpleasant. So
I wish I would have wore a cod piece when I got dropped when we were playing racquetball. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was... Jeez. You don't turn and face the firing squad. That's rule number one. You can get hit in the back, hit in the butt, hit in the back of the head, but your mistake was you were front line and you turned around, and that was... We can't
I got dropped. We were playing racquetball with a couple of friends, and whenever we played racquetball, we got crazy. And it's not a big room, and that racquetball goes 100 miles an hour. And I faced to return, and I missed, and it hit me right there. And I dropped just like that, and I fell to the ground in the fetal position. Just so, maybe a cod piece would have been a good idea for me.
Yeah, it's always good to protect yourself. or don't put yourself in the position, but stuff like that happens. But, carrying on with the song, I mean, we go on about, it doesn't make you Superman because you're in a cape. And I think every kid has been there too, where you've put on like a cape and you've jumped off of various things, probably not as high as what I was tricked into jumping off of. I had one of those brothers that was always, if you do it, I'll do it. So, it made sense. And for whatever reason, I never learned that lesson because he never did do it, because he saw what happened to me when I did it. But, we would climb up on the barn, climb up on the shed, try to parachute with a trash bag. One time had this elastic rope. I don't know if you remember that. Tied it to a tree, and we were going to bungee jump. So we climbed up, had this treehouse tree high up in there, and tied the rope to the elastic cord to the tree and tied it to me. And I jumped off and got to the end of it, and was expected to be snapped back up because, let's face it, 150-pound guy at that time. Why wouldn't like a stretchy cord the size of my pinkies pull me back up? But I jumped out and got to the end of it, and I don't know if you remember what happened. I'm sure you did. The cord just snapped, and I just slammed straight into the ground.
The ground was there to meet you.
Yeah, knocked the wind out of me. And, we had a center pivot. We talked about that before with our sprinkler, and put up hay, little square bales. And, I mean, you want to tell about how we used to do, well, not you, but we used to climb on the stacks, and
sure,
how you were such the encouraging brother that made me think I could do anything.
Yeah, I mean, we had 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 haystacks down there right outside of the center pivot, and that's where Dad would stack them all in a row. So they're maybe 15 feet tall, and then he'd stack them right together. So it seemed like very close together, like maybe
by right together we mean like 10 or 15 feet.
Yeah, but I told Russell one day, I said, I bet you can jump across them because they're so close. And I gave him a lot of encouragement. I said, I'm sure you can do it. I said, once you get across, I'll follow you. And
there it is. There it is.
And so he takes off across, and then he's in the air, and then here's the stack. You can't see it because it's off the screen. And he starts to fall, and then he hits the side of the stack all the way down. So I will give him credit that he made it almost the whole way.
It was like, the Looney Tunes show of Wile E. Coyote. I just smacked into the side of that thing and scraped straight down. And I mean, alfalfa bales are not forgiving. I mean,
oh no, they aren't.
They just tore me up. I was scratched, like from the belly up, and yeah, didn't even come close. Didn't even come close. Wasn't going to make it at all. Because clearly I look like somebody who can jump. For those of you that have known me or have seen me, the ability to jump and run are not any of my strengths. But, tried it anyhow. So, and, always, like I said, parachuting off with a trash bag off of barns and stuff like that. But those were the things. And I mean, knock on wood, never got a broken bone out of all of that. And those are just the quality memories that let you go, So, and like the song says, I'll follow my brother wherever he goes. And that was basically what it is, except he made me go first and he didn't follow. So I followed his instructions. And, we say in there how I lost my fingers and most of my toes. Well, I have all my fingers and toes, but it just rhymed and was funny. So I think it's about your turn to pick up on the next verse and talk about that.
Well, let's see. Where are we? Are we at the pool?
Yeah, that's a fun one. You can tell about that. I noticed that most of these lessons were learned through me. As I reflect back on the song, I was the one that seemed to learn them the hard way. So,
Well, you have a lot of character, and you're not afraid to get in the mix and stuff. So that's why you have all the stories and you have all the experiences. So,
or maybe I'm just a slower learner than you.
no, I don't think that's true. But so, like, when we were in Shadron, we had some friends, and we had a friend who was she worked the front desk at a hotel in Shadron, and so she said, "Hey, you guys want to come over and use the pool, hang out in the pool?" It was like on a weekend day or something. We're like, "Sure, that sounds fun." So we go over there. It's myself and Russell, and were Eric and Travis there? I can't remember.
No,
I
but
don't think so.
Cody and your wife and some of our other female acquaintances.
Female, yeah, we're all there, and so we hang out in the pool a little bit, and then Russell gets out of the pool, and he's wearing a khaki bathing suit, just like the song says. And you don't realize when a suit like that gets wet how transparent it is. We'll just say that. And so,
and everybody knows when you're wearing swim trunks, you don't wear shorts or anything underneath. It has the built-in mesh lining. And, my hair is dark. That's all I'm going to say.
So everything
dark.
Everything was on display. And what I thought was the most funny about this
is that I didn't know as I'm standing there facing you guys, and you guys are all laughing, and I just think it's funny because I'm telling jokes.
Right.
That wasn't why they were laughing.
What I was going to say is we used to perform at an event called Chuckle for Charities. It was just like it said, a charity event in Gillette, Wyoming, and the Hillbilly Junction Boys would perform there. And we took first place one time, took second place another time, and we did Stuff You Need to Know. It was I think that was the year we won. It's one of our best songs, like Russell said, that gets the most laughs.
We brought it that year.
And so what I thought was one of the funniest things about that song was at the end, what did you say? Because the song goes, the cleaning staff at Motel 6 knows I've been circumcised. And so at the end of the song, what did you say?
Well, we talk about how, as we've gone through the podcast, legitimately, almost all of this song is 100% factual. But so I comment on the fact that, it wasn't a Motel 6, it was a Super 8.
Yep. It's like everything's true.
Yeah, for that. Yeah. And it was the Super 8 in Shadron. Motel 6, let's face it, we know they didn't have a pool. Right. You got to be classy, like Super 8 style.
Well, and then what I remember about those performances, too, is we always tried to have Mom and Dad there, and sometimes they could make it, sometimes they couldn't, and we really wanted someone to record that performance, and we had a little handheld camcorder, and so Dad was supposed to be filming it. And for us, it was a great moment. We do the song, the crowd goes wild, I throw my hat, Russell made his jokes. It was an amazing moment. And so then we, it's over, we go home, and we're like, hey, Dad, what did you get? And he's holding the camera up for part of it, it's shaking kind of, and then halfway to the song, he's holding it down. So all we're seeing is his pants or the table or whatever. And so we're like, you didn't even record it. And it's one of our best performances. So we do have a live audio recording of that song somewhere, but hardly any video.
Yeah, I think, he got more caught up in watching us perform and forgot his secondary duties or primary duty was to be our audio visual man.
Yeah, our videographer.
Yeah.
Every good band needs a videographer.
Yeah, so that was it. And then we go on to talk about, don't go out dancing with a woman with more facial hair than you. We have quite a bit of facial hair, the bearded charmer over there and myself. And at least, the bearded charmer is starting to get a lot more gray in his. I don't know if it shows up as well as mine, but this used to all just be dark and glorious. But now it's gray and wiry and getting worse. But that's okay. you know. But yeah, that's lesson for you. Don't go out dancing with a woman with more facial hair than you. And we go on to say about the bulge in her capris. So, you know, if you're dancing close and you feel something that probably shouldn't be there, that's another sign that you probably need to head out. But as the song continues to go on, I mean, we take her home and then she leans in, you know, we still didn't catch on and leaning in for a kiss. And then it's by the time they're like, thank you for the evening, you know. So it's the low voice that finally was like, ha, we connected the dots there. Facial hair,
tip off, yeah.
Bulge, you know, deep voice. Yeah. We didn't stay there any longer after that. You know. Yeah, we caught on. We caught on fast, you know. And for listeners, that didn't actually happen. Not that we would actually divulge, because there are a lot of things that we admit to, but I'm not sure that either one of us would lay claim to that lesson firsthand.
And it seems to be a popular theme in some of our other songs too. You know, we just did the catalog last week, and Hazel von Schnazel. Who knows? It might have been Hazel von Schnazel coming to America to that dance we went to and stuff you need to know.
The German weightlifter. She shaved off her beard before I could kiss her. That's not my best German. I'm not the man of voices like the bearded charmer.
Right.
But you know, those are just good lessons. You know, so hopefully, as we've been, and you know, we should have started the podcast the way we start our song when we perform it, but you'd already listened to it if you have. But if you hadn't, we should have said, you know, get out your pad and paper and pencil, and well, pad is paper. So get out your pencil or pen, or probably pen, so it doesn't get erased. But get out your pen and paper and write this stuff down, because we've lived most of these lessons, as I'm sure others have too, and we could write a lot more. We should probably write stuff you also need to know. Come out with that song. You know,
more stuff you need to know.
More stuff you need to know. You know, so what other lessons do you think you want to hit on that?
Well, man, the final verse talks about he goes downtown and he's asking for directions, and
or so the story goes. That's the story. That's the story we're sticking to. We're asking for directions.
He meets a lady of the night and asks her for directions, and then but we
never actually specify directions for what.
Right.
We leave that up to your imagination. Like, what are we asking for directions for? Are we trying to go someplace, or are we trying to do something? You know, like how does this work? We leave that up to the imagination of the listener. If you haven't noticed, our songs have a lot of innuendos.
Yeah, they are heavily innuendoized. Is innuendoized a word?
It should be. If not, you can trademark it now. You heard it here, listeners. Innuendoize. It's not a word. It ought to be. So yeah, don't go asking for directions. You know, from a woman of the night, whatever those directions.
Nobody asks for directions anyhow anymore, because you got the GPS, so you don't even have to. Now you've got to come up with a different kind of story. Yeah,
you can't blame that on a lack of GPS, but you know. Back when that happened, you know, the GPS and all of that wasn't even in existence, not to the public person.
Yeah.
Or at least not to us. We weren't fancy enough.
Yeah, computers and GPS didn't come to Weld County Road 130 for quite a while.
No. But I mean, the thing is, listeners, hopefully you've gotten some knowledge out of our experiences, and that you won't make those same mistakes on your own. Probably most adults wouldn't. There's a good chance that we will probably repeat some of those lessons that we've learned, that, you know, you go ahead and do stuff. Like even now, probably if Jason would say, hey, you know, if you do this, I'll do it, I would probably get tricked into it.
I said, hey, let's do a podcast. And you said, all right.
I was on board. Yeah. Just earlier today, he said, hey, you know, I'm buying these stickers for the podcast. You want to pay half? Like, sure. You know.
Hey, so we got some the Polyester Man podcast merch coming soon too. So
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
I think, we should get like bobbleheads. Wonder what that costs to get a bobblehead made. Biff Bobcat Rogers bobblehead, Bud Catfish Dickerson bobblehead.
But they can do it.
There you go.
We can find a source.
Oh yeah. Source of all sources. So there's plenty of stuff that you need to know, and I mean, don't smell a branding iron to see if it's hot. Don't
listen for gas as it's coming out of hose.
Don't put the gas pump up to your ear to listen for that. Let's see. Probably shouldn't throw hammers at your brother. Things like that.
I'll share something. Sesame seed. If I say sesame seed, I'll share it. Okay, so I'm gonna leave you guys.
This is a must. This is a great story.
This is stuff you need to know. So we already told you how Russell kind of revealed himself at the pool. So I can't leave him hanging. I'm actually gonna step in and do.
Oh,
what
you're not going to leave me hanging. You're the one who's the only one hanging here is you.
So this might even have a little bit to do with the cod piece in 40 Below, because as I tell the story,
there was snow on the ground. There was we were sledding.
Okay, so it was myself and my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, Russell and his girlfriend, and we're sledding outside of Chadron, and it snows on the ground. Obviously, it's cold out, and we're sledding for like a half hour, 45 minutes, and we get in the pickup. It was Russell's pickup, and so there's four of us sitting right together, so we're real close. But for some reason, I had you can't see me, but I had my legs spread open like Sharon Stone on Basic Instinct, and
because that's how he rolls. That's just how he flies.
All of a sudden, Andy starts laughing. That was Russell's girlfriend at the time, and I'm like, what's going on? Well, turns out I had a big old hole in the crotch of my jeans, and
the hole wasn't very big, or it wouldn't have had the same effect. The hole wasn't very big, but it reminded me of there's something about Mary, How did you get the twig above the berries or whatever?
The beans got out. Let's just say
one bean.
The bean got out.
And how it squeezed through that tight hole is beyond me. And how you didn't even know it.
Because it was cold, Jerry. It was cold. And it probably had frozen while I was sledding. I didn't even notice it. And so I'm just sitting there with it all hanging out. And Andy's laughing. And I look down and I'm like, oh, great. And so the reason I said sesame seed is because the little hair follicles... I'm saying a lot. I'm burying my soul here.
It was squeezed so tight.
Like a sesame seed on a Kaiser bun.
Remember, what was it? When did I give you the thing of sesame seeds for Christmas? Was that the following year?
Probably. Yeah.
I gave him the sesame seed seasoning from the spice section in Walmart. But listeners, I don't know. I wish I had one here, but make a fist and put a balloon in it and blow the balloon through.
Stress balls.
Yeah, so the balloon is stretched so tight. And I mean, it's amazing that, that testicle didn't get frostbite and fall off. It's I don't know how long it had been hanging out, but the thing was stretched so tight it had to be unpleasant. But I think what he said, the cold weather made it numb. That's a great story. Yeah.
I mean, it was embarrassing at the time once I realized what had happened, but it's a great story now, and I didn't want to leave Russell hanging with his bush story. So
yeah, but I guess the stuff you need to know from that lesson, or what you can take away, is if you go sledding, wear pants that are loose. Yeah, or wear clothing that is loose enough so you're not going to split anything out.
Check your crotch.
Yeah, check your crotch. Make sure that...
Just put that up and check your crotch.
Put whatever you're wearing, do some lunges first.
Do a little crotch test.
Yeah, that's what I do when I try on pants in the store. I'll be in that dressing room doing some lunges. Because if it doesn't pass the lunge test, it's not going to work.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
or spandex or sweatpants.
Spandex
Whatever.
would have been a great idea, but it wasn't invented yet.
Yeah, but I think that's a great lesson. And see, excuse me, all of that is stuff that we could have put in our, more stuff you need to know, more song.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, that was a good story. So listeners, hopefully you've taken something away from all of this and have learned some things and lessons from us. And we do. I mean, we have plenty more. We have plenty more lessons, but we don't want to spoil them all because I do think we need to write more stuff you need to know.
Yeah, but I think what we should have is we should ask our listeners to share with us any lessons that they would like to impart. I was talking with my wife about this today. Email your answers to the band at myhillbillyjunction.com. The band at myhillbillyjunction.com. Any lessons you want us to know, want us to share, we'd be happy to share them next time. And
if you're lucky, if we do write another song, more stuff you need to know, we could put that in there and give you a shout out in the song.
Give you a little nod, yeah.
So
Jason from Shadron writes in, don't let your beanbag hang out when you're sitting next to your brother's girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good advice. Yeah. And I think that's a great segue because our next episode coming out 2 weeks from now is titled Beanbag. We'll just leave it there. I think that's a good way to leave it. That's
you got to tune in for that. I mean, Beanbag has so many possibilities.
Right. So I'm going to sign off. I'm Bud Catfish Dickerson.
Yeah, Biff Bobcat Rogers signing off.
This is the Polyester Man podcast.
Stuff
Later.
you need to know.